A truly mind-blowing study, but not that surprising study has come out over the last few years. I believe this was almost 5 years ago. It was about 4.5 years ago. And it's conducted by OnePoll. Did a little bit of research on their site. Wasn't super comprehensive, so trust but verify. But they seem fairly legit, like they have some decent clients. They have a lot of polls and different market research they do for firms, stuff like that. But the average American has found in these polls 37% of what they learned in school is useful for them as a modern citizen, as a modern human being. 1/3 of what you learned in school, which the staggering part isn't what you think it is. The staggering part to me is that it's so high. 37% found something useful in school, or found school useful, I guess, in general. That's mind-blowing to me. The average American uses just 37% of the knowledge, skills learned in high school. I would say that's truly at 5%. What average person is generally using the skills they learned in high school? I would contend that most of it's social. Most of it's like the social things you went through in public school, in government-run schools. Probably higher, obviously, for Catholic private schools, people using more of that actual knowledge. The big thing is, for me, this is where my life really turned. I was a very good student in grade school and was with the genius kids doing, extracurricular things. They had me in separate classes doing things. Many of those kids I did stuff with in grade school, they turned out to be the geniuses. They were the ones that were going to, the Georgetowns and going to do extra, whatever, and are always a grade or two ahead in the math and the sciences. And I was that way all the way through middle school and through high school, and finally it caught up to me in about 11th or 12th grade. And when I was playing for the U.S. national hockey team, we missed like 45 days of school on the under 18 team. So I had to go back in math eventually, because there's so much school that you were losing out on, and science I was always good at it. Physics I was always ahead in that. So I was blessed with natural ability in some of these things, but my studying as I got older continued to go down because I continued to question what we were doing. When are we going to learn about money? When are we going to learn about wealth? When are we going to learn about business? Why are you teaching us one side of the political spectrum and you're not teaching the other? And I was getting a heavy dose of it at home with my parents, questioning everything, routinely questioning what was going on. My father, when I would come home each year with my textbook, my history textbook, for example, he would ask me the very first week of school, hey, let me see that. And he would go through it and watch him go through it. And he would be skimming the pages. He was an excellent reader. He himself was, and probably has read tens of thousands of books over the course of his life. And he would skim through it, and he would look to see what was going on, and he would go in and circle things to talk about later on that maybe we were going to learn about or whatever, and then go and refute them and say, hey, this is where they didn't think about this. This is where they got this wrong. This is where they're only telling one side of the story. And, moral of the story of that also is that parents need to be actively engaged in their children's education, number one. And I'm a living example of that. Someone who was not caught up in the system, in the government-run school system. Remember, government-run school system are public schools. They are the government curriculum. It's paid for by the people just in mass through property taxes. No one really has a say in what's going on unless you go to PTA meetings or actually voice your opinion, which very few people do. More people are now over the last 5 years because of what's happened in their lives. But no one for decades was doing any of this, and they were just going along to get along. Everything's going to be fine. Of course, common sense will prevail. And anything but common sense, as we've seen litter boxes in kids' classrooms, Xanax rampant among 14-year-old girls, etc., etc. These things aren't common sense anymore. So my dad was doing this in the 90s. 30 years ago he was doing this and checking these things and constantly questioning everything. And he could see the agenda decades and decades ago. He could see what was happening. And a person that was a hunter, not living off the land, but one that was cultivating the land, a conservationist, not an environmentalist, a conservationist, a true person that cares about the earth and the environment. We'd plant trees as a kid. We'd plant corn. We'd plant all kinds of different things as a kid. This was just something that was a part of me. I was a hunter, but I was your typical, all-American kid, boy, jock, and conservative, patriotic. I'm going to be in the military. I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. I was that prototypical kid that, the movies were about type of thing, where it was like the stereotypical white teenager that was a jock, bigger than everybody. But I wasn't. I was a good kid, fortunately, and I tried to protect other people, and I wasn't a part of the problem because that's how I was raised. That's how I thought most people were raised. I thought that's what people did. That's how they did. They took care of their environment. They they hunted and they shot an animal and they said a prayer afterward and gave thanks to God. I thought these were very common sense things. I thought they were things that everyone did. And boy, was I wrong. Boy, oh boy, was I wrong about society, that most people did not grow up that way. And most people didn't grow up with near the life I did, or the same principles or the same ethics or values, or whatever you want to call it. And here we are. Here we are today with most people saying they actually got more out of school and high school than they probably really did, to be quite honest. But this is what I think is hilarious, too. But again, the whole point of it is, the whole point of the article is like, no one really gets anything from school. I think it's higher than they say they are. A third of people are using what they learned in high school. I couldn't tell you more than like one or two things maybe that I learned in high school. I mean, you learn to read and write the first couple years of your life in grade school, and then you learn some addition, subtraction, multiplication, division. You know, your cursive, your printing, your reading. Second, third, fourth grade, you're pretty much tapped out. You learn my geography, learn where things are in the world, so I have an understanding or an awareness of geopolitical things and what's going on. I'm about tapped out, guys. Don't really need much more. If you want to be a doctor and an attorney, maybe you should go to apprentice with somebody and actually be mentored by people that are actually doing it. Those are the people that maybe should be going on with extra work, but in the actual field. I don't need to be sitting in a classroom. Most people factually don't work well in a classroom setting and sitting and looking at a whiteboard. So this is the funny thing, though. Top 10 useless things Americans learn in school. This is where they pulled it out. Pythagorean theorem, 48%, really useful today. Knowing pi, that is incredibly useful. The periodic table, I would say that's actually decently useful. 40% said that, so 48, 40, 40. 37% said the types of rocks. I would actually say that's decently useful. The difference between protons, neutrons, and electrons, 37%. Clearly this one people have no idea, because now we have people, the leaders around the world, saying that energy usage is bad, or we're wasting energy, and things like that. When if you understood what you were taught in school, that energy is neither created nor destroyed. Science and theology both talk about this. Energy is never created nor destroyed. It just exists, and it transfers states. That's something, again, most people got completely wrong. Didn't learn that one in high school. Mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, 35%. That's amazing. Naming the presidents in order, I would actually say that's more important than all the other things on here. Actually, still of low importance, not necessarily a super important thing, but again, we have Google. Osmosis, how about that? How to make paper snowflakes. Interesting. Photosynthesis. And that's about it. But here's the top 10 skills Americans wish they learned in school, and we're going to wrap with this because I think this is the genesis of what we do here, and really kind of puts a nail in the coffin as to why for 20 plus years I felt the way I have since middle school, and why I felt a calling to give my story, my testimony, and talk about what is inside of me and inside of my heart, what pulls on me every day. And when you see these problems in life, the broken monetary system, and people struggling, your family, your friends, the people around you who can't understand what's going on, they don't understand why Orange Man is bad, why they're being told Orange Man is bad, they don't understand why he's in power, he's out of power, why the current president can't walk around straight. When you don't understand the money, follow the money. If you don't understand that in a broken monetary system, and how a broken monetary system, money going into currency, we don't have money anymore, how that fuels and enables this system that causes polarization, division, hatred, then none of it makes sense. And it causes hardship, and it causes mistrust, and it causes disease and dis-ease, and it causes these unfortunate things that happen in life that don't need to happen. And we like to, as humans, we like to complain, and we like to really sit there and be victims about these things instead of actually doing the simple things and making the simple decision that can actually change this immediately, overnight. Just a simple decision to use a different money. But I digress. The top 10 skills Americans wish they learned in school. Money management and budgeting, 57%. Closely related, how to properly do taxes, 44%. What do you know? How to manage emotional, mental well-being. Wow. So Bob Proctor's, your Jim Rohn's, the study of your mind, psychology, philosophy, how those things work, how your mind works. Boy, oh boy, I wish I had those first three things. Understanding credit and student loans. That is useless, actually, in an equity-based system, in a world with true sound money. That stuff wouldn't even really exist. Credit scores are completely fake. Student loans is complete garbage. So that sort of won't even exist. But nonetheless, I think it is important for this list. How to negotiate, 39%. Wow, this is a based list. This is an incredible list. It's funny. Why don't things get done, right? We have to talk about these things. So educators have to see these lists. This has been going on for a couple of decades now. People have been starting to realize the government schools aren't doing the job they need to do. People are complaining about it. Adults now being into real life. Where are the adults doing things about this? Where are the adults now going around and electing politicians and making this the number one thing? Instead, they just continue to send their children for 8 hours a day to a glorified babysitter, to a government-run school, to be indoctrinated with the same stuff they just said they didn't learn and should be learning something else. What kind of clown world do we live in? Only a fiat-based monetary system enables that. Time management. Wow. What a list. This is incredible. Household repairs. Well, we used to do stuff like that when we were on a sound money system, home ec, stuff like that. Mechanics class, homeroom, things. How to make conversation, personal relationship skills. This is literally the best. If I took this list of 10 things, car repair and maintenance, and the last one, how to find a job. We don't need the last one. But I digress. If you took that list of 10 and gave that to your children and just focused on teaching that to them, oh my goodness. Wow. Money management, budgeting, how to properly do taxes, how to manage emotional and mental well-being, understanding credit and student loans, how to negotiate, time management, household repairs, car repairs and maintenance, how to make conversation and personal relationship skills, how to find a job. Wow. But yet, we're stuck in the government school system. That's just going to keep perpetuating the same thing because of fiat, the government in control of your currency and control of your wealth. It's just time and energy. That's all money is. It's a container, and it's an information relayer, relaying information across the planet in real time. But the feedback loop is broken because we print currency and paper over things. But it's a container also for your time and energy. When you go spend time and energy away, you trade it for something. Hopefully it's an equal, finite characteristic that it contains, like your time. There's only one thing I know, one money I know that's equally finite to our time, perfectly finite. That's it. And it's, newsflash, not the dollar. Not fiat currencies. Those are infinite. So you're trading your finite time for infinite pieces of paper, infinite digits in a computer. And we wonder why the average person has more month at the end of their money and can't get ahead and falls further and further behind, and the wealth gap continues to widen. But what say you? Let me know your thoughts below. Let me know where I got this wrong, please. And if you feel so inclined, please share this out. We have the tips down there below. If you're getting anything on this channel, please subscribe. There's a lot of people that don't subscribe. 95% of people don't subscribe to this channel, that watch it over and over again. Please subscribe. It shows the algorithm that there are a lot of us that believe this way. And survival really is predicated off of community. And we need to, survival in this world is defeating the algorithms and actually getting the word out, getting truth out. So we're minimizing the collateral damage of this world we are in right now. Otherwise, there's going to be more polarization, division, and hate, and garbage, and people laying on the streets, and chaos. We don't want that. That's why I do what I do. That's why I do what I do full-time, to do this, to educate people. Bitcoin trading cards, the platforms we have here, doing the interviews, all these things are because I'm trying to spread the message, because I have 4 young children that I don't want to see live in a hellscape. So I appreciate you. Please share this out. The algorithm hates truth. Question everything in boldness, even the existence of God himself. Trust but verify what I'm saying. Go find this stuff at onepoll.com, I believe it's .com, but OnePoll, just Google research firm OnePoll. And this is not financial advice, it is freedom advice. I look forward to seeing you on the next one.